One. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast, Our New Narrative. And today is still July 8th.
Working.
And this is part 3 of I guess, podcast that I've titled Talking About the 1619 Project and the 1776 Project. And it's basically me and my good friend Leo watching Mr. Bob, interview of Mr. Bob Woodson, who has created the 1776 Project. And we're going to get right into it. And as always, please like, share, and subscribe, especially share. We would like to get this perspective, especially the perspective of Bob Woodson, out there, and the perspective that is pushed on our new narrative. So with that, let me share the screen and get right into it.
I think some scholars to write about it. That there are thousands and millions of people who their lives are the embodiment of the values of the founders. We need a ground straight. We've got 2,500 low-income grassroots leaders of all races in 39 states that are part of the Woodson Center network.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about this.
Yeah,
this Woodson, you've been building this for decades.
38 years ago,
right.
I started the Woodson Center. It was called the National Center for Neighborhood Enterprise. And the reason I use the word enterprise, because I believe that the principles that operate in the market economy should operate in the social economy. Only 3% of people in a market economy are entrepreneurs, but they generate 70% of the jobs. And these entrepreneurs tend to be C students, not A students. I say that A students come back to universities and teach, C students endow.
Woo.
And so, but in our social economy, the experts are professionally trained people. But we believe that the real social entrepreneurs are my grassroots leaders that are in these communities. There are two types. There are ones who are in poverty but not of poverty. If we say that 70% of families in these low-income, drug-infested neighborhoods are raising children that are troubled, it means 30% are not. We need to go into, as we do, we go into the homes of the 30% to try to find out what is the secret of how they've been able to thrive and to progress in the presence of this dysfunctional community. And so the Woodson Center has built its reputation by going in and taking what works among the 30% and then applying it to the 70%.
Okay.
And my model for that is taken from the Bible, the Genesis of Joseph and Pharaoh. That's the model. As you know the story of Joseph, who was from a dysfunctional Hebrew family. And he was sold into slavery by his brothers because he said he saw you bowing down before me, and he was just, anyway. But he suffered, but when in slavery, he never submitted to despair. He was falsely accused when he went to the house of Potiphar of having sex with Potiphar's wife. He was imprisoned. He became the best prisoner. He went into 1731. Pharaoh had this dream that none of his experts, and they remembered Joseph. They brought him before Pharaoh, and he refused to bow down to Pharaoh, so Pharaoh knew he had integrity. But then they developed an alliance where this uneducated 31-year-old Hebrew was empowered by Pharaoh, and together they saved Egypt and fed the world. But we believe that phenomena, that's a paradigm for what we're trying to do at the Woodson Center. We're trying to recruit wealthy pharaohs who have influence and money to work with and empower these low-income leaders who are the Josephs. And together, we want to bring them together. That's why you saw we had community activists. Many of them were ex-offenders. Many of them were redeemed souls coming together with the finest of our academicians and some wealthy business people. So that's the coalition that we're trying to hold to rebuild and take the 1776 to scale. That many of these 2,500 grassroots leaders are like insurgents during the Second World War. The war was won by the Allies supporting insurgents in Italy and in France and other nations. Freedom-loving people need to support America's insurgents. And those are the people whose lives are living their lives by the principles of our founders. But we need to elevate them and let them speak for themselves and end the divisiveness in the country and let their views and attitudes and behavior prevail. That's what we're trying to do.
It's remarkable.
Well, I'm gonna look this guy up. I'm gonna look up the Wilson Center. Sounds like a place I'd want to be.
Man, I was saying, when you gonna do that? I was like, wow, bye.
Yeah, I mean,
It's been
yeah, I've looked around, man. You know me, I'm a libertarian, but that's mainly because I can't.
And I guess I'm a sidebar libertarian.
Yeah.
Watching
To tell you the truth, like, I went to the state libertarian convention out here in California, and I was somewhat, I didn't know what to expect, but I did.
Dre, when was that?
This was last April.
Okay, okay.
It was close to my house. So I didn't have any excuse but to go. But I really wanted to see what the organization was about, and God bless the organization. But the impact, I don't know, man. It's such an uphill battle because anything that they do, it's like whack-a-mole, and they're the mole. And you got the Republicans with that big paddle. So it's like boom, 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 boom. Like, it's,
come up, they're gonna get smacked on the head.
Yeah, man. They're outfunded. They don't have, and anytime, like I always say, if a libertarian gets some press, oftentimes it's that, AK-47 AK-47 carrying, tutu wearing, weed smoking, extreme, right? And the reasons that attracted me to the Libertarian Party was this concept of freedom, personal liberty, personal responsibility, and I kind of got with that. But as for practical change, I was thinking, like, if the libertarians could go into like the Black community with that message, that would really help. But man, I mean, just like you often say, the optics of it can be so off-putting. Maybe, there's more and more Black people going into the Libertarian Party because, one, they know what's up with the Democratic Party, and so they like allergic to that. And then they can't get with the orange guy in the White House. So like the only alternative seems to be a Libertarian Party. But a wise man once said, this Thomas Sowell, well, I'm getting it from him, I don't know if he said it, but he said no group of oppressed people or impoverished people have gone from poverty to prosperity via politics in the history of the world. So
I wholeheartedly agree with that one. I mean,
yeah. So to accomplish the goal of, let's say, like I said in my book, why do I have to leave Black people to feel successful? How come, like Mr. Woodson is saying, get the Black community to be a community that other people are attracted to? I don't think we'll get there via politics. I think we'll get there via just disbursement of these capitalistic values, individual freedom and responsibility.
But that's an individual choice, though, and that's difficult, man, because that's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
Gotta embrace, and that's individualism, which is ironically the thing that capitalism and America is about, and you gotta embrace that.
Yeah.
like make that change in this individual. You know, you just can't follow. You can't just follow the lead on that. You got to like individually go, this is what I believe. This is what I think. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I know
Right.
to do to be successful. And it all of a sudden starts lining up with other people who in a domino fashion are doing that.
Right. And I think
that's happening culturally.
Yeah. I mean, you're 100%. It's an individual choice and decision. But I think handing people the tools through education to make that individual decision and choice is lacking in our community, and specifically and more in general in America nowadays. I mean, don't nobody know about. I'm pretty sure if you ask the average American, regardless of race or sexual orientation or gender, what made America unique,
they couldn't answer it.
Yeah, I don't think they could. I could be wrong, but I really don't think they could. So I think, and the reason why is, the short answer is, the people who lost the Civil War wrote the history. For the first time in history, the loser of a war wrote the history.
No, you did. You said the history was written by the people that lost. That happened.
Hey, man. So I'm going to let them keep going.
Right. Hey, even when we right, we wrong.
Right.
Talked about offline, actually, I think, was also that this is very much, it's a very much a bipartisan or multi-partisan sort of issue. You've got people from all walks of life, all sorts of backgrounds, but sharing this kind of common framework.
Yeah, Clarence Page and I have been friends. We've never voted for the same party in our lives. And Bernard Anderson, who is a one of the first Black faculty at the Wharton School, and a very active and liberal democratic politics. Bernie is a part of our movement as well. And we have Glenn Lowry, conservative professor at Brown University. So this really defies the left-right divide. It really defies the class divide. And it's really bringing together of ordinary people who share a passion for this nation and who believe that we should be defined by the content of our character, not the color of our skin. And so that's what we're trying to bring to attention and bring it to scale. Sort of reclaiming the country from the inside out. That's what we're trying to do.
So, you're now making me think of the fact that I understand there's over 3,000 schools that have already adopted this 1619 curriculum, which you argue is
destructive.
Right, right.
Poison. It's moral and spiritual poison.
Are you developing some kind of alternative curriculum?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
We have 12 essays, 14 essays now. We hope we're going to expand those, but we're going to extract the knowledge and wisdom that is embedded in these essays and put it into curriculum. We want to take some of the experiences of people in the past, knowledge, and we want to make that a part of the curriculum from K through 12. We want to see more movies like Harriet, and also Hidden Figures. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we are going to be promoting, a whole comprehensive retail agenda so that parents can be offered an alternative. If they receive a copy of 1619, we want you to compare it to 1776. So we really want the real competition of ideas. And so we're trying to put some competitive.
And the only people scared of the competition of ideas are people with bad ideas.
But it's like he's been eavesdropping on me during this whole conversation, because he's basically talking about marketing.
Yeah.
Like at this point,
yeah,
you got to have a marketing strategy to get that you know, that that unspoken alternative point of view, which is really closer to the truth.
Yeah.
What's out.
And unfortunately, like I said, we talked about it before, like name a mid 20, 30-year-old Hollywood actor or actress that leans to the right.
Nobody.
Oh, I mean, they got like back in the day with slavery, the politicians, the left-leaning, the politicians who were pro-slavery in the South, they controlled 100% of the press. So you couldn't get, one of my favorite books, the Impending Crisis of the South and How to Meet It. I mean, it was outlawed. People got hung for having that book in the South. Go look it up, folks. It's free. If you download it from Google, it's in the public domain. It was written in like 1857. So if you want to know something about how life was before the Civil War, start there in 1857. Don't start in a book that was written in 2007. Right.
Right.
At best, all that person is doing is quoting this book. So anyway, give us the whole truth, man. Yeah, slavery was bad. Bad things happened in slavery. Families were separated in slavery in America. But think about the African who got caught up in slavery. He got snatched from his family by Africans. We don't think about that at all. Like, the African slave who got snatched away from his family started in Africa being snatched away from his family. And then, he gets to America, and then he may have been snatched away from his family again, but it started in Africa. So if you're going to give me the truth, give me the whole truth, and let us figure out how you want to interpret that.
Right.
People who don't want us to know the whole truth got something to hide, in my opinion. And that is weaponizing racism for a political gain, which is detrimental to the African American community specifically and American community in general.
And that's a good way to phrase that, actually. Weaponizing racism to the detriment of an African American community and an American community in general. That's a good summary.
Yep. So we almost finished here, man. We got like 2 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Material in the hands of people. And our grassroots leaders, the 2,500 that I talked about, I look at them as civic teachers. See, there's already communities of trust that exist within communities. Well, rather than always looking at teachers as being well-educated scholars, we need to look at grassroots leaders as civic teachers. They're already teaching children. They're already moral mentors and character coaches to young people. But we just want to add an agenda item, and that is the knowledge about civic restoration and civic knowledge about America. And so that's what we want to empower those grassroots leaders to be civic teachers. So we want to put manuals, we want to put materials in their hands, movies, inspirational, social media. So that's our plan, but it's going to take a lot of money. The left is spending millions and millions. We're just getting started, but this is David and Goliath moment. So David is reaching out for help so we can defeat this Goliath of 1619.
Tell me quickly where people can find 1776 online.
You can find it online, 1776unites.com, the Woodson Center.org, and you'll see the Woodson Center is hosting 1776, but you can go online and look at it. Again, it's 1776unites.com, and the Woodson Center .org. That's where you can find us.
Wonderful. Well, Bob Woodson, it's such a pleasure to speak with you today.
Well, thank you.
Hey man, that is
Awesome.
got my
Yeah, Bob Woodson got mine too. Well, it's like, wow, he's really inspirational, man.
yeah, I mean
80, what did you say, 86?
what?
Bob Woodson.
I don't know how old he is. I mean, I never knew the guy until we started doing this video.
Like, right. I mean, I'm interested. Like, he's been around because he knows some stuff.
Yeah, he's been around, man. I like the way he presents stuff. Is not antagonizing. Is he's not trying to put people down. He's not trying to say you don't know this. It's just here's a practical solution to a perceived problem that he saw way back during the civil rights movement, with that, making integration more of a priority than excellence. And I don't think both are mutually exclusive, but if you concentrate more on integration, this leads to what you can see, like, well, we've integrated, how come we don't have the same income? How come our neighborhoods aren't just as good? They won't let us integrate into that neighborhood. We don't think about, okay, I have to concern myself with excellence. My community has to concern itself with excellence to the degree that people outside of the community will want to move into our community. It's free market, right? I mean, you want people to buy your product, you got to have a good product.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so the brain drain in the Black American community is horrible. As soon as you get somebody with any type of money, they out, right?
Out 5,000 G.
Out. So that brain drain, like, what did they do to become successful? Well, you may be able to read about it in a book or watch it on TV and it's some special. But having a neighbor, like when I was growing up, I had neighbors Black accountants, Black professionals, and you can kind of see their values and actions instead of watching it on the big screen, right? Now, and I always say, hey, I didn't start off in that well-to-do neighborhood. I started off in the projects. And look, man, the people in the projects had different the Black people in the projects and the white folks had different values than the Black people, white people, the Asian people, the Jewish people who I eventually grew up with in the more affluent neighborhood. I mean, the Blacks were Blacks, had different values. They lead to a different place.
Right.
Their success wasn't based upon the fact that he or she got lucky that they didn't run into a racist.
Yeah, well, those will always exist because they always have. But I guess the workaround is, what can you do to successfully navigate around that?
All right, man, we're going to end it on this one. Thanks for being on the show, Leo. And
yes.
We'll come back again with something else. And till then, if you guys have stuck around, please like, share, and subscribe. Definitely share. Hit the like button and subscribe. And I'll put a link to Bob Wilson's interview in its entirety in the description below. Until next time, stay safe out there. And we'll talk to you later.
All right.